Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Shine podcast. I'm Damien Gonzalez, and let me introduce you to the rest of our hosts.
I'm Brianna Ramirez. I'm one of the hosts for this particular episode.
I'm Ava.
And I'm 10.
All right. Now, seeing as this is our first episode, I thought we should probably introduce what the podcast is, you know, what our mission is, and, like, why we're doing this. So basically, the Shine podcast is a mental health podcast and mental health outreach aimed specifically at teens, you know. And we sort of created this podcast with the intent of giving a voice to teen mental health and not so much having, you know, just the adult voices and you only hear what adults want to say with regards to teen mental health, because we believe that the most important voice in the mental health conversation should be the people that are affected and the people involved in it. So, yeah. Did you guys have anything else you want to add to that?
Adults are our oppressors.
Yes.
Thank you, Ten.
I think I need to add that.
Yeah, I think that, I guess kind of like the goal of what we're doing here, why we are sitting here recording this, is because we just want to talk about a lot of topics that kind of affect teenagers and affect mental health and affect our lives. And I feel like some of it kind of goes unspoken for. So I guess we're just trying to be that voice and try and be here as like a, what's the word?
It's sort of like an advocate?
Like an advocate, yeah. To advocate for teenagers and what is going on through our minds and how just kind of try and make one teenager out there feel a little less lonely, and also maybe for adults to listen and be kind of conscious of what's really going on. But yeah, it's a little student-led podcast for us.
All right, so why don't we introduce you guys to this episode that we're going to be covering today. Yeah, so this month's episode is finding your career path and
leaving high school in general, I think.
Yeah. Big topic, scary topic, I would
terrifying.
even say. I don't really want to dominate the conversation too much, so I'll let Ava and 10 sort of speak to their experience on the subject and, like, yeah, what do you guys have to say about moving out?
I mean, most of us are about to be 18 or already 18. What do we do after June comes around and we're gone from what was expected of us to do?
I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea, to be honest. I'm lost.
I think we all are a little bit.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie though, I feel like moving out, or like not necessarily moving out, but graduating high school is something that I've more so been looking forward to than being scared of it, I guess.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I didn't really think about what I actually wanted to do with my life after high school. Like, I always knew I was going to go to college. That was kind of like my overall plan, but I didn't really think about the process that would take until the summer after my sophomore year. So before my sophomore year, I started researching like different majors and different campuses and stuff. And that was when I gained like a general plan of what I wanted to do. So, yeah, I feel like I spent my entire junior year, like living in the future. So I feel like everything I did in my junior year led up to now, like applying to colleges and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm still nervous, of course, but I feel like I gave myself like a platform or like a, you know, basis to go off of what I wanted to do.
But don't you think that's kind of scary? Like, to me, it feels like there's this immense amount of pressure, especially for our age group, that, you know, everything that we're doing right now sets us up for the rest of our life. And like, oh, if you're slacking off in college or in high school, then you won't get into a good college, and then you won't get into a good job, and then your whole life is ruined. And I feel like there's almost like too much pressure.
I was gonna say it's definitely
placed on us.
A lot of pressure.
Like when we're at such an early stage in our lives, when most of us don't even know what we're doing, to be honest. Like, I know I sort of wanted to do something along the same line as you. I wanted to like set up my junior year for like everything relating to college and sort of setting up my application and setting up what I wanted to do. But like looking back, it honestly feels like I didn't do nearly enough. Like
No,
That's how I felt my junior year too.
Exactly.
I dedicated my entire junior year to preparing to be able to go to college. So I took like hella AP classes. I mean, I like studied super hard. It was like hands down probably the worst year of my life
100%.
in my academic, like in my high school career. That was like the worst year of my life. But and it somehow it still feels like I didn't really do much, because it's like now I'm applying to stuff and I'm like putting down like my AP scores and like the classes I took, and then I'm sitting there like what am I doing? Like what am I gonna do?
What did I even do last year?
exactly.
Like did I just like sit?
Like I kind of like blacked out my junior year, I'm not gonna lie, because I don't know what I did. Don't ask me. But I feel like there's a lot of pressure just because it's like it's scary, because you don't know what you're doing now. It's like, how am I supposed to figure out what I'm going to do for the next 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
So it's definitely terrifying. But I'm a lot like I was honestly looking forward to it a little bit, just because it's like exciting to me a little bit, because I'm like, oh, I get to like move out and I get to do something.
I'm excited for that new experience. You know,
was gonna say-
I've lived here my whole life. I'm just really excited to like live in a new environment with different people and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, I'm just excited to do something completely different than what I'm used to doing, because it's like it's an experience. I get to like, it's just something so new, and so that's like exciting to me, but also it's like very terrifying. But it's like that weird, I guess.
And now that we're like actually, oh my god, we're actually going through it now. I don't know. I don't know. Like during my junior year, it felt like it was just, I was focusing more so on like the idea that I would like that nothing I did or that nothing I experienced back then would matter, because I would be able to move on from it after high school. But now that I'm actually going through, I'm like, okay, like I am gonna miss my friends. I am gonna miss like my living with my family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm still excited, of course. But it's still like, it's a reality now. I'm actually submitting
hitting.
those applications, you know, stuff like that.
Insane. I get the emails from like UCLA, and I'm like, no.
Oh my god, I know.
Like, don't look.
I submit my CSU applications like 2 hours ago, like right before I came here. So I'm like, no.
I'm gonna be honest, like just so you guys know, like right now, as at the time we're recording this, it's like
It's November.
3 days before the UC applications are due.
And the state applications.
And I'm being perfectly honest, I'm nowhere near being done.
Let me tell you, the way I've been stressing about my PIQs. Oh my god.
Ooh.
I haven't done my my UCs, because I like got to the personal insights and I'm like, bro.
Yeah, I was working on it.
I closed my computer. I was like, I'm not doing that right now.
Yeah, it's so stressful. It feels like you have to like become the most interesting person in existence.
And then it like forces you to think about your life, and I'm like, man, I didn't do anything. I'm like, what am I supposed to like write? Like, I took AP classes, like,
And we're all still like in high school. You can't be expected to do like, you know, come up with like the cure to cancer or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
And I feel like for the UC system, there's a lot more elitism that's become present in the past few years. Like, you need to be a better student, a better scholar, more involved person within your community, and like not everyone has the bandwidth for that. You know, not everyone has the time nor the family situation to be able to participate in all that. Like, you know, what if you're at home, you know, your parents work all day, and as soon as you get home, you have to take care of your younger siblings, you have to take care of, I don't know, maybe even your grandparents, you know, because they can't afford to live in a retirement home or another place where they can have someone care for them, and it's difficult, you know.
Yeah, because on a lot of the applications they ask, they're like, oh, did you do any like community, did you get like community service, did you guys get any awards from like your town? And I'm like, no, I just like, what did I do? I just went to school and I went to work, and that was all I did. Like, it's just it's definitely scary, because it kind of forces you to look on what you're doing or what you have done up until this point. But like, you guys got a point. Like, we're still young. Like, well, I'm not.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are some people that like do have like a stacked list of like extracurriculars. Like, they knew from the beginning. Like they knew from their freshman year like what they had to do to get into college, because they had like that guidance. Like, one of my friends, for example, she has like an older brother who like went to a UC. And so I feel like she went by his guidance, but like I didn't have like that older sibling that like went to like a UC or whatever. So I was just doing what I enjoyed, but I didn't realize that it would come to this point, and I'm like, I need to like actually like present myself in that way. I need to like impress these admissions officers, you know. So
Yeah, it's definitely terrifying having to like impress someone that's gonna have such a big impact on your life.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you're like staring at the UC application. You're like, this is gonna like dictate what the next
4
4
years,
years
of,
of
your
my life are gonna be like. And so
for
I
some
have to,
people, like even more, even the rest of their life, because like there are a lot of careers that are dependent on getting a degree, and like if you don't get a degree, you just can't go down that career path.
But then it's just that, because like you're staring at the application and you're like, is this what I want to do? Like, am I sure? Like,
Yeah.
I'm putting so much effort into trying to study this one program or going into this one school, and it's like, do I really want to do that? But it's also like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to do this and see how that goes. But it's definitely freaky, very freaky to me.
And like even the reverse is true. There are a lot of careers and pathways that serve to have no benefit from getting a degree. Like I wanted to pursue film for college, and I know that a lot of film productions, like you have a degree, big whoop. It's a lot about the networking and the experience. So it just like going to film school has no impact on how you progress in that career. Basically, it's all about the people you know, the connections you make, and the experience you gain, and it just doesn't have an impact. And I feel like that's kind of scary when so much of us are expected to go to college to pick our career paths, and like college isn't always the best career path for everyone.
But it's like you still don't know what career path is best for you. You don't know what path is best for you. You just gotta.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of freestyle it, I guess. To kind of see what you're doing. But
actually, I also want to state that like college is very expensive nowadays.
Yeah.
And how that places like an undue burden on most kind of just like look at the political and like social aspects of it, where I'm pretty sure there's some $1+ trillion dollars in debt that students have taken on just to get an education, which like you mentioned earlier, they don't even know if they want to pursue in the future for however many years, and if you could just change it.
I feel like that's such a not talked about point when going to college.
Like the amount of money that you spend and you don't even know if you want to do that.
Yeah, like I know that around me at home, like a lot of the people talking to me about college is just say, oh yeah, just apply for scholarships, just apply for financial aid. And like even with that, a lot of times
a lot of money.
College is expensive, and like it's a serious investment to consider, even for like, especially if you like get into a private school. Like it's a major investment that you're going to be paying off for the next 20-30 years of your life.
Yeah,
it's insane,
because that's kind of another way you like psych yourself out, because you're like, do I want to spend like 50 grand on something that I don't even know?
Sometimes 50 grand per semester.
Like,
yeah, it's
a really big commitment, but it's like, you know, you're gonna do what you're gonna do, but it's
I definitely think like in Europe, I know they have where they have free college. I'm pretty sure, right? Like post high school institutions, they're given to them for free, like the state schools and such. And I think the United States of America, which is the richest country in the world, should kind of like follow suit in providing every American an equal opportunity for success and an equal opportunity to kind of build off of like their college education, which has proven to not just educate its people and create like a broader awareness of, you know, certain subjects, improve like scientific discoveries, I'm pretty sure, right?
Just the general intellectual power of the country as a whole.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
Because they kind of like drill the idea of college into you very early on. At least that's how I felt. Like when we started talking about college in like middle school, I'm like 12 and we're starting to talk about college and like college essays. You start doing those as like English projects when you're in freshman year, and you're like, why am I writing my college essay? Like I'm like 13. So, but it's like they introduce that idea of college to you and how to get there so early on, but it's also like they kind of don't mention a lot about the money portion, because it's like I'm filling out this FAFSA and I'm like, sure, they're going to give me so and so money for aid, but then I'm still having to pay a lot more money even with the aid. So it's like it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks, and it's scary having to like spend that much money and that much effort and that much time into something that you're like, do I even want to do this? But I feel like you just gotta.
Yeah.
You won't know.
And to bounce off sort of what Ten said about how a lot of colleges and universities in Europe are sort of considered more of a public service. I feel like that's kind of mostly due to sort of the differing attitudes we have as a country towards education, because I know a lot of people within Europe are a lot more open to approaching sort of a social sort of idea or philosophy for school, because they do view it as something that is essential for the betterment of society as a whole. And not that we don't view that as not that we don't view it as that here in the States,
but it's a little less, if not a lot less.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of that sort of capitalistic mentality of, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps here within the U.S. Like, if you fail as a person or as a career within your career, it's because you didn't work hard enough. And I feel like that mentality is very harming and misleading, because like we mentioned, a lot of it has to do with the opportunities you're given in your youth and throughout your life. And if someone starts off with less opportunity in their youth and early on, then they just struggle to.
Because I think I see it a lot, actually, where it's like I see a lot of teenagers that are just so burnt out because they're doing so much just to get into this good college that they've been like, that's their dream college for years, but they're doing so much. And it's like, you're 17, 18. I don't think you need to be taking this much burden to put yourself in debt and go to this college. So it's like, I mean, you do you, but it's kind of sad to see, where it's like they're taking on so much and they have like such, like, you can tell that it's kind of burning out for them. Like,
and at that point, you're gonna like lose the passion for that if you're doing everything just to go to college. It's like
you're gonna get to college and you're gonna be like, I don't want
exactly.
Like you're gonna have to do the same amount of workload that you've been working towards for like 3 years. So it's like, it's just I don't know. I feel like it's just a lot of pressure and a lot of work to put on like kids who aren't even adults yet and don't even.
Our minds are not even fully developed. We don't know what we want.
Yeah, you don't even know what you want. So it's like, why am I doing so much to get into this college? Because it's like, I just feel like it's such a high it's a high expectation that, like I said, has been drilled into us since forever. So it's.
But but I also wanted to add, like, with the financial burden aspect of college, it's very annoying to me, at least how arbitrarily drawn the line is of who gets aid and of how much, not just for receiving aid, but like for many aspects in our country, but of who gets how much aid, receive, like FAFSA, for example. And it's just annoying because some people, even if you make $1 more than what they label as low income, and you get whatever 4 free admissions,
you don't have
to pay the fees. If you make $1 more, if you make $1 more than whatever amount they chose to pick as low income, then you won't qualify for the free college admissions, which if you applied to, or at least for me, I applied to 3, and that racked up to $210.
Yeah, no, fees are no joke.
Which is ridiculous.
They are
ridiculous. I'm begging my counselor for that fee waiver.
Yeah, honestly, I'm only applying to as many schools as I can get a fee waiver for at this point, because like with some of the private universities costing like $80, $90 per
just
application.
To apply, and I'm probably not even gonna get it.
Like,
exactly,
right. It's a complete scam, and each college has like 50,000, 100,000 applications sometimes for.
So they're getting like, I don't know, 100,000 times 90. That's how.
They're getting
money.
like what?
And I still have to pay more.
100,000, $9 million.
Just on applications.
On applications.
I don't know the logistics of it, but it definitely seems a little shady.
Yeah.
I'd like to know where those Where that money
Conspiracy
goes to.
episode coming soon.
Yeah.
What is
Definitely
FAFSA
coming
hiding?
soon, I probably.
Welcome to the United States of America, folks, where even college is a scam.
Yeah, applying to college is a scam.
Yeah.
Filling out a form is a scam.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely like my state application, which is like due in a few days. It's done. I'm just waiting for my counselor to fill out that fee waiver, so I don't have to submit it and pay it. I'm setting up a meeting with her tomorrow and be like,
oh my god, I need to email my counselor.
I need a meeting with my
I needed to email her like a week ago.
Talk to your counselors, guys.
Yeah, don't do what I do and wait till the last minute
Do not
for everything.
procrastinate. Oh
Like
my God.
I
Start as soon as it opens.
Yeah, like I haven't even like finished any of my portfolio submission
I need to do my PIQs. It's not funny. I'm probably gonna do that when I get home.
for my like film major schools, because like they like make you submit like a portfolio of all your creative work, like, oh, what projects have you worked on, oh, what's like a script you wrote, blah blah blah, etc., and I have not.
I don't think we're a
Finish
really
any
good
of
role
that.
model for this podcast,
No.
guys.
Yeah,
No.
maybe not.
No, yeah,
That's okay.
do as we say, not as we do.
Exactly.
I think that's the biggest thing to take away from this.
it's okay. I think most of us can relate.
Yeah.
I hope, but yeah, I need to talk to my counselor.
No, one thing for schools that I do wish like they offered more opportunities to do kind of these more niche or maybe like not so traditional like work avenues of work. Like you said, film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that's
They never
that's
talk about film.
No, and like I know at my school,
like
there-
at least for my school too. I was very pressed about them not doing journalism this year. I wanted to start like the journalism class again because they took it down because not enough people wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that kind of made me a little bit upset.
Yeah, no. Like at least the school that I went to or that I go to, they had a lot of good classes. Like I was looking
Yeah.
through the
No,
course
mine too,
stuff. They
like-
had a lot of good classes. I'm like, guys, where did this go?
Yeah, I know.
We need these.
Before COVID, I think my school used to have a like huge and thriving media production class, and that like ever since that all got shut down,
Like COVID.
there, I don't know if it was because of COVID, but around that time, and now I'm like maybe the only person interested in film in like my whole school, at least to the level that I have been sort of engaging and involved in it. Like as far as I know, to be honest, which is sad. You know, it's disappointing to not be able to find people who share your passion, who you can collaborate with to sort of achieve your goal of pursuing it as a career, and it's disheartening. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're hitting our time.
Yeah.
So episode is not over. Do
No.
not leave.
No. Next we'll be transitioning to our guest segment where we have a very special guest who's here to talk about sort of her personal career experiences and like offer a more adult perspective to sort of the issue of
As someone who has gone through graduating already and has gone through that stage of the life that we have been discussing, we
Yeah.
can kind of get some advice on what it's like because
Yeah.
we have no clue what it's like.
No.
We haven't even started.
We have no idea what we're doing, and we're just kind of winging it, you know.
And we're gonna talk to someone who has winged it already.
Yeah.
So
And hopefully, you know, it'll help you guys, you know, figure out what you want to pursue, and just kind of how to do life.
No, speaking about opportunities as well, this is a great opportunity right now. I appreciate all of you guys, honestly,
oh yeah, this is
Yeah.
cool. I love doing
Yeah.
for
this.
being here.
I'm having
Like,
fun.
Yeah.
this is almost a dream come true. Like,
Yeah.
having
Aw.
this available
Yeah.
for me.
It's great.
So,
It's
Yeah.
cool. Okay.
Yeah. Stay tuned, folks. So we're going to start with our guest for today. Would you like to introduce yourself? And
Yes. Hi.
who you are?
I'm Leslie. Leslie Ramirez. I grew up here in Napa. I currently live in San Diego. And yeah, I'm Brianna's sister over
She's
here.
my sister.
Lovely. How lovely. It's good to see a nice,
Yes.
you know,
It is good.
sibling relationship.
It is good to have you
especially
here.
for, you know, this podcast, you know.
Yeah,
where-
yeah. We're 12 years apart. So I think it's a good age to be able to pass on wisdom.
She has
Things
extensive
learned.
knowledge.
Mhm. All right, so seeing as she's your sister, Brianna, would you like to start off with our
Sure.
first question of today's segment?
All right. So I think we just want to start off by you just kind of giving us an idea of what was your experience after graduating high school.
After graduating high school, I went directly into the workforce. So I am a first-generation immigrant. So as I was graduating high school, college and was not in my mind because I didn't have the citizenship, for scholarships and for FAFSA. So for me, I was like, oh, college is a no-go, so I'll just get right into work. And so after high school, I was doing some community college classes. I was taking some art classes. I took some child development classes just to get my foot in the door of college while I worked. And then I just remained in the workforce. So after high school, I was working.
Yeah. Nice. As you said, there were, as being a first gen, not only immigrant, but college student, there were obviously a lot of things you didn't know about, going into that experience and applying for college and knowing what career path you want to take. So now having the sort of retrospective of what you know now, is there anything you think you would have changed or would have told your past self about how to sort of continue on with your college and career path?
Yes, I would have told myself not to lose the motivation. I would have told myself to remain focused. I think that I very early on just we have an older brother. He's 4 years older than me, and he also just left high school and went to work. And so I feel like it was not really an example of oh, that's what I'm going to do too. But I didn't have a different example of oh, my brother made it, so I can make it too. So it was, I regret not buckling down, talking to my counselors about my options. I didn't go get enough resources. In my head, I just wasn't able to. I wasn't able to receive all these resources. So in my head, I was like, don't even try, and I wish I would have went back to my high school self and said, hey, you know how everyone's applying to colleges and scholarships? Do it too. I was just like, hey, after this, I wonder what I'm going to go do. But I would have told myself to focus, talk to people if you don't really know the answers, because in my head it was just what it was and I didn't talk to anybody about it. And my cousin, who's in the same situation, was able to go off to Berkeley and get a degree, and I'm like, well, who did she talk to that she was able to figure it out and I didn't? So if I were to go back and tell my high school self something different, it's to really focus and try to get all the information that you can of all the resources that are available to you, because there are a lot, and if you don't ask, then you'll never get them. And so I feel like there were a lot of resources for me, and I just didn't focus on finding them. So if you're in high school and you are having trouble, I would definitely give the advice to focus and ask the questions and look for the resources for sure.
So all of us here are seniors in high school, and I just also wanted to ask, since you are talking about how you had this expectation of yourself, of what you were going to do after graduation, did that change at all, or did you just have that expectation of I'm going to go into work and I'm going to do this certain thing, and you did it? Or did you have a different expectation for yourself, maybe a higher expectation that just how does that compare to what you actually did?
I think my expectations for myself always change depending on what I'm into and just how I'm feeling in life at that moment. So maybe after high school, my expectations were I'm going to go to college and I'm going to do this and I'm going to get this degree. And then you maybe start falling out of that interest, and you're well, not what I do, because I did want to do fashion stuff, and then after that, it's kind of like, so my expectations were I'm going to go to college, I'm going to work for magazines, but then as soon as that interest falls off, then I have different expectations. So then my expectations in general were just to be dependent and not live at home, and just live a life. And that's what I'm doing. And whether I'm in the spot where I'm not where I want to be or I'm not, my expectation is just to be independent and just kind of be happy. And that's what I'm doing. So don't set yourself too high expectations. So that's the only expectation of myself that I can keep.
Yeah. Well, to me, it sounds like a lot of your expectations sort of had to do a lot with independence and being able to make your own living. So my question is, when you got to that, like, what was it actually like? It must have been scary, having lived your whole life with your parents and then suddenly, oh, you're on your own.
Yeah, I think that when you are a teenager, you're always like, when I'm 18, I'm going to move out, or when I'm 18, I'm going to go do this. And I'm able to do all that. And then you get to that age and you're like, 18 is actually not that old, like I'm not ready for all of that. And so I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
What I asked was, like, how did you deal with all the independence you faced after moving out?
Yes, so it was hard. I think what helped was that I didn't move out by myself. I was in a relationship during high school, so it wasn't like I'm gonna go and live this life alone. It was like, well, me and my partner are gonna do it together. And so it was not scary to move out of my parents' house because I was looking forward to like my next chapter. And it's difficult. Obviously, I still look to my parents for a lot of support. Yeah, I mean, you become independent and you just deal with it however you can deal with it. Definitely looking for support where you find it, your family and friends, and doing stuff that you enjoy, of course, because being independent and is always going to be difficult. And even in times where it isn't difficult, there will be a difficult time, So being independent is scary, but it's worth it. And I think you just deal with it by just going through it.
And I guess on that point of just going through it, none of us, or especially me, have had to gone through being independent. And in one way or another, we're kind of looking forward to it because it's like we've lived a lot of our lives under someone, whether that be a parent or a guardian. And so I think it's exciting for a lot of us to just be able to move out and, like you said, live that next chapter of your life and look forward to that. But I guess going back to like the questions about expectations, did you have any you probably did have expectations about how it was going to be living by yourself, or not by yourself, but living not with your parents anymore after.
Yeah, I feel like I expected to just live in a different house and just live my life, different, separately, but still, be with my family. And that's what it was, I didn't move out and think this is not what I thought it was going to be. It was just moving and just living.
So you expected most of it?
Yeah, I expected most of it. There's nothing really that you don't expect. Like, you expect to pay rent, you expect utility bills, and you expect to work to maintain, your independence. And I didn't think I'd be like, oh man, I have to work 40 hours to pay for all of this, and how am I going to do it? I knew what I was going into when I moved out. And so I think as long as you know all these like things, before you move out, I think it's not as scary as it feels like, because you are leaving the comfort of your little nest, of your parents' home. I think it's just having the confidence in your skills and your abilities as a person to handle the world not in that environment, and just have the confidence in yourself. But yeah, I had the expectations I had. Yeah, they were like that. They were met.
So kind of like circling back to like sort of the environment you lived at home, prior to moving out, was becoming independent and moving out like right at 18 something that was sort of pushed on you or pressured, or like was going to college sort of more emphasized than going straight to work, or like what was sort of your expectation at home from like maybe your parents or other family members?
Honestly, I don't feel like I was told any expectations of me. Like, my parents never sat me down and say, we expect you to do this. We expect you to go to college. We expect you to do, this. My mom didn't really pressure me when she saw that I wasn't really applying or myself to colleges or going that route. She inquired, she asked, but they were very supportive. So it wasn't really like, no, you need to go to college. My mom was like, okay, you want to have a year off and figure it out. That's okay. So I didn't feel pressured at all to do anything. Obviously, my mom didn't want me to leave home. I think it's scary for any parent to think that. I think it's scarier for a parent to think that their child is leaving the nest versus the child that is leaving the nest. So I was not pressured at all to leave. I think that was just me and like my need for independence, not need, but my like want for independence that I chose to move out. But it was definitely not something that was pushed on me. And college wasn't either. My parents did not really pressure me. It was more like, what are you thinking about doing? Oh, okay, yeah, we support you on that. And that's kind of what it was at home. So
yeah. Do you think having parents that supported the sort of plan that you wanted to go with made a difference in sort of going through with that and sort of planning out your career and actually executing it?
Yes and no. Like, I'm very grateful for my parents for always supporting me. You never want your parent to say, oh, I don't like the job that you have, or I don't like what you're doing with your life. So I've always been grateful for their support. But my parents weren't really pushy. Like, they didn't push me to like do sports or like join clubs or like, oh, you're getting good grades, cool. But it wasn't like, let me see your homework. It was I feel like my parents had a lot of trust in us in like our school, so they didn't really like get too involved. And I wish that my mom had maybe pushed me a little bit or pressured me to sign up for college or to do something or to figure something out, and maybe I would have gone that path. I think having my parents' support is great, but I also don't think there was a lot of like guidance where it's like, oh, maybe you should really try going to college, and it was more like, okay, well, that's what you want to do. So I'm super grateful for all of my parents' support, but I feel like it also allowed me to just kind of flow on by. I feel like if I had my mom would have pushed me a little bit to go to college, I would have done it.
Do you think maybe that like lack of push to go to college had anything to do with sort of maybe the history of other people in your family going to college? Do you think that maybe if you had spoken to different family members who did sort of participate more in the college experience, you would have been sort of pushed more? Or what do you think?
Our family didn't really have a lot of college experience. My cousin is the first one of our immediate or extended family that has made it to college with a degree, and Brianna would be the next one because my brother and I didn't go that route. And so I feel like it didn't really have a lot of model of like, oh, look, your cousin did it. And so I feel like my parents also weren't that model. And so I think that even they were okay with like, oh, you don't want to go to college, you want to go to work, that's okay too. So they weren't pushing like, oh no, like you have to go to college. It was more like, well, we didn't do college, we went to work. So if that's your choice, that's a great choice too. So I feel like that's where like their push didn't come from, because it was like something that they did or something that all of our family did. They just kind of went to school and then they went to work. And so it was kind of like, you're doing it too. So I guess
like I think that was the expectation.
Yeah,
in
the
household.
expectation was like, okay, you're just gonna do what you want to do, And But yeah.
No, definitely. So on the topic of you having, well, you and my brother both went to work right after college. Was that hard? Was it hard having to balance your job and like a personal life? Because I feel like throughout high school, yes, you do have, like, maybe you have a job, but you also have a social life, and you also have academics, and you also just have like this other thing that's keeping you preoccupied. But then after graduation, it's like, what do you do now? And since you didn't go to college, and that to continue that education and to kind of still have that social life and that other, I guess, aspect of your life, and you just went to work, was it just hard having to get out of the routine of like going to school and just having to do work, or how was that balance for you?
I think it was pretty much the same, because it was just like, instead of going to school and then hang out with your friends, you're just like going to work and then you hang out with your friends. I think that young, early 20-something-year-olds are very good at finding a work-life balance. We will figure it out. We will go to work and then go to the bar, no matter what time. And even if we're like, having a hard time at work the next day, but at least we had fun with our friends the night before. So I think that once you get older, you're like, oh man, I'm going to skip out on that because I have to work tomorrow. But I think that in your early stages of when you're leaving high school, I think it's just a very natural thing that where you balance your work and your life. And when I was younger, it was not a problem. You just did it. It was fun to go to work, and you hung out, and you had all this energy to do both things. And so I did not have any trouble like balancing it out. I didn't lose out on work because I was focused on my social life, and I did not miss out on social life because I was focused on work. Especially when you make your friends at work, sometimes you build a commodity in the workplace that you have. And so all my best friends I made at my job. And so technically going to work was my social life. It's like you go to school and you hang out with your friends, you have lunch with your friends, and it's like, technically you're doing both at the same time. And if you have one of those jobs, then you're balancing your work and social life because you're working with your friends. So when early on, it was very easy and it was very natural to keep that balance. Now, as I'm older, I do have to like schedule some time, like, oh man, it's my day off. Like, I have to go and do this because I can't do it throughout the week because I work, and then I have that routine. But when you're young, it's very natural. It just comes naturally to you guys. You don't have to worry. You'll be able to balance it out.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's actually really good to know.
Yeah.
That's like, relief.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, it's like, no, it comes very natural because you're at that age where both things are important to you. And so you'll make time for both things, and you'll find the energy and the interest to do both things. And yeah.
So you wouldn't say it was that drastic of a change?
No, it wasn't that drastic. I wouldn't say that like I went from, high school is so easy and my heart is so difficult. Like you start learning your job just like you started learning school, little by little. And so you're never just thrown into something, you just take it day by day.
Just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, you just take it day by day. But I mean, they always say, right, your job is to go to school. And so it's pretty much the same thing. Instead of just doing 8 hours at school, you just go do a shift, and that was it.
So you also mentioned that because I've also seen it growing up, but your interests changed a lot. I was witness to it, but your interest did change a lot. You talked about how you wanted to do, I remember you were very into fashion, and you liked art, and that was like your thing in high school.
I hyperfixate on a lot of different hobbies.
And that was your thing. And then you graduated and you started working. I think you start working at Bouchon after you graduated. You started working at Bouchon, and I'm like, oh, she's a baker now. And then you moved to New York, and I'm like, oh, she's a traveler now. And then you did fine dining in New York, and I'm like, oh, so she's still kind of a baker. And then you move back, and now you do something completely different. So do you want to kind of like talk about how those interests change and how it was going through that experience of trying to find what is your passion and what is your calling, I guess, if you want to say that?
I think for me it was changing jobs, changing careers, but I I know it's normal to change your majors, you know, or your minor. So I feel like it's something that everybody goes through, whether you're in college and trying to figure out what degree you're working towards, or you're already in the workforce figuring out what career you want to build. But I feel like everyone goes through this time of like, is this really what I want to do? Maybe your interest is getting lower, maybe it's getting too hard, you know, and then maybe you just start to find passion into something else. And so whether you're in college going towards your degrees, if you start off already knowing exactly what you want to do, I think that's great. That's awesome. But it doesn't always happen that way. So I think it's okay to dabble in different things to see what you like to do. When I was in high school, there was a fashion class. And so I was really into it. And so I wanted to do fashion photography. I wanted to do fashion design. But once that class was over and I wasn't going to college yet because, you know, places like trade schools for fashion are expensive and I hadn't looked into any scholarships or anything. So I went to get a job and at like a bed and breakfast. And so I was cooking and baking. And so I was like, oh, now that I'm not doing fashion and I'm doing more of this, I started to find an interest in this. So I thought, oh, maybe I want to do this instead. So I went from like wanting to do fashion. I was a baker, and then I went and did fine dining in New York. And then suddenly I wasn't interested in in the kitchen anymore. I don't know if it's like an ADHD thing or if it was just like it's just not fulfilling anymore. I think also as you grow up, you look for different things out of life. And so sometimes when you're young, you're looking for fun or you're looking for convenience or you're very passionate. And then when you get older is when you're like starting to look for convenience, you know. And your interests change. What makes you happy changes. So I used to be very happy, like working my 12 hours in the kitchen and just being really good at what I do and the adrenaline rush and like, you know, doing all of that. But then suddenly like I changed as a person, my interests changed as a person, and I didn't find that fulfilling anymore. I didn't want to go to work 12 hours and I didn't want to rush just to make a dessert that someone was going to pay like 3 times over my salary to get, you know. And so then once that fades away, you just kind of find a new interest. And so I think it's normal if, you know, to dabble around to see what you like to do. I definitely dabbled around with different careers. For now, I really like what I do and I want to continue and build a career, and I hope that I don't change. I hope that I don't change again. But you never know, you never know what can change, not only in the world, but in yourself. And maybe what you're doing now, it doesn't make you happy, and then you'll change. So, you just go where your interests lead you, and that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, because I think what worries, I don't want to speak for all of us, but I think what worries a lot of us, and also me specifically, is that what I'm choosing to study now in college, I'm like worried that I'm going to be spending all this money and all this energy into studying it, and then it turns out that I'm not even going to study it. So it's like, I think I'm just worried that whatever I choose, and I've also talked to a lot of my other friends about this, it's also their worry that they choose something that they want to study now, but it's also like, is it what I want to study? Should I pick something else that I'm more interested in? So it's kind of like that fear that what you choose to study right now in this time is what you're kind of have to stick with.
Yeah, it isn't like the B movie where you're like, you have to choose your one job and that's just what you do all your life. So I think that's also one important thing to know. Like, I know in the back of your head thinking like, man, I just paid all this money for this degree and like now I'm not going to use it. But I remember very clearly being surrounded around bakers at the bakery, lugging around, 50-pound bags of flour, who had English degrees, who had business degrees. And I'm like, so shouldn't you be like starting a business? And they're just like, no, I like to make bread. And there they are, And I remember a friend one time, she told me, that she was this English major. And I was like, did your parents get mad that they like paid for college and you're not using it? And she's like, yeah, but I'm happy. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, I feel like there's a lot of time. You know, I feel like you have time to try for a degree and you don't end up liking it, and then try a new one. You know, like I definitely didn't go into my first job thinking like, oh, I'm just going to be a babysitter for the rest of my life, or I'm just going to be this, you know, B&B person for the rest of my life. You can be a baker for 10 years. I mean, I did it for around 10 years, and now I'm doing something else. So, and you have a lot of people that do that in their life. You know, they choose to end their career and they start a whole new one. And I think it's also important to know that like your life doesn't stop once you choose a major in college and now you're like dedicated to that. Like you can find different interests, you can take different classes, you know, that aren't towards your major, and see if there's something else that interests you. But there's a lot of time. And if you get this 4-year degree, you know, and then years later you don't use it, as long as you are somewhere where you're happy and you have a fulfilling career, then I don't think it's a waste. You know, you learned what you learned in those 4 years and you're using them, maybe not directly towards the job that you have, but you are using that experience. So I wouldn't consider it a waste if you end up, you know, like, oh man, I just spent 4 years for this English degree and now I'm doing something different, because it's not a waste. You learned and you experienced for 4 years, and even though you're doing something different, I think that everything that you took from those 4 years will still apply to you. So life is long, you know, you have time to do other things.
For sure. Are there any other topics you wanted to cover for the segment? You know, featuring our guest.
I think probably, I mean, you gave us a lot of advice. I feel like not just me and Damien and Ava and Tan in the back, but I feel like you just gave a lot of people advice, because your insight, I mean, you led a crazy life, basically is all I'm saying, and you continue to. And I think it's just something that has inspired me since I was a kid, and it's continuing to inspire me. So I guess I just wanted to bring that inspiration to other teenagers like me who would need it, because it's like, it's not fair that I just get to have all your advice. So I'm like, I feel like other people should
you get such a model sibling over here.
But I guess since you gave us so much advice, I think it would also just be what is like the most important thing you think you've learned, or important things you have learned that you kind of want to like bestow upon us as.
Yeah, or even what's like the most important takeaway you want to sort of present from what you just shared with us.
I would say to just do it and just go through it. It's, you know, I remember telling everybody like, I'm gonna go move to New York for a year, and they're like, girl, you've never been to New York in your life. Have you ever been there? And I'm like, nope, I've never traveled, never been, but I'm just gonna move there. And it was hard and it was scary, but you go through it and you live life and you come out experienced, and you take so much with you. So my biggest take is just to do it. Just do everything. You know, if you want to go to that out-of-state college, but your mom doesn't want you to go far away, just do it. You know, like, go travel. You want to, hey, I want to go live in this state. Like, go do it. Nothing's keeping you grounded here. You know, nothing's keeping you grounded exactly where you are, except for yourself. So if you want to go live in the city, go do it. Go through it. It'll be hard and it'll be scary, and maybe you'll have to move back home, you know, but at least you tried it, and you have that experience and you have that story to tell, and you look back and you're like, you know, I tried it. And so you know, sometimes when I'm just feeling some type of way, I'm like, I really just packed up my car and I just drove across the country for 2 years, and you know, I did it. And now when I feel maybe self-conscious, or I don't feel that confident to like go into that new job or whatever, I just remind myself like, hey, remember that hard thing that you did? Like, you can do this too. So my biggest takeaway from life is like, you're never going to learn and you're never going to experience unless you do it. So you're the only one holding yourself back from that thing that you want to experience. So I say just do it and just live it. And don't use all these excuses. Why not? You know, like, well, my family's here. What if something happens and I'm far away? Or what if I don't get a job over there? Or what if something happens to me? Like, you know, there's always going to be a what if. But there's always going to be like the good what ifs, you know, like, what if I really love it over there? What if I, you know, make it really big? You know, what if I find a really nice community, you know, that a bunch of friends. Like, you never know what you're gonna find unless you go. So I feel like right now you guys are in a stage where like your parents don't want you to like go that far, or they want you to stay safe. They want you to stay nearby. But my biggest takeaway from life is that it's there. All the experiences are there, and you just have to go to them. So yeah, that was my biggest thing that I've learned, is just to go through life and just to do it, and don't talk yourself out of it, you know, just do it.
All right, well, thank you.
That was really good.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
You guys are great.
good.
I honestly like loved all of that. I think you gave a really personal sort of view into your life, and kind of gave us a little bit more confidence about where we're all going.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I've been hearing this my whole high school career, but I feel like you've shared a lot of stuff that I haven't really asked about, and I guess I was also kind of taking this opportunity to ask you questions that I've had, but also, I guess, using your advice for everybody else, like I said, because it's not fair that I get to have you all myself.
Yeah. And then some advice that I keep getting now too is that it's not too late. So when I talk to my supervisors and I'm like, man, I wish I had gone to college. You know, I wish I would have found. So what I do now is I do behavior therapy for autistic kids. And to go further into that career, you need your bachelor's, you need your master's. And so I'm thinking, you know, I just spent all these years working in the kitchen where I didn't need this college degree, thinking, yeah, this is great, I made it. And now I'm in this career where I did need this college degree. So now I feel like, oh man, like I wish I would have found this earlier. But everyone tells me, like, it's not too late. Like, there's no age restriction for college. You can sign up right now and start working on your bachelor's. And they sure did. They sent me emails about the school programs that my job helps pay for. So now they're sending me the resources to go to school. So now when I'm thinking, like, oh man, like, I wish I did that in high school, it's like I don't have to wish I did it in high school, because I can do it right now at 29 still. So you know, don't ever think that you can't, or it's too late for something, because it's not, you know.
Are we gonna go to college together? No, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. Should we close off this
With?
episode?
You can close it off.
Okay.
Damien.
All right. Thank you all for joining us this week on the Shine podcast. I want to thank Brianna for being a lovely host. And yeah, I want to thank your sister for...
I want to thank my sister too for flying out just to do this for me, because that's actually what she did. She flew out just to do this.
I was catching flights over here.
Yeah. So. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, thanks, Ava.
Thank you for sharing all your wise words.
Very wise.
And make sure to stay tuned in for our next episode, and we'll see you then, folks.